In today's tutorial, I'm just going to have fun. This is for the Mixability 7 challenge on Split Coast, which is to use spritzing. And I'm going to take a piece of vanilla cardstock and a piece of newsprint paper that I've treated with a little bit of gesso. And I'm going to show you how to make something that looks very much like a Polaroid with a single color of ink. So to begin with, I line up a piece of 3.5 by 3.25 vanilla cardstock on my grid paper. And I use the grid paper to help me position the post-it notes. So you can see here that I'm masking off exactly one grid square on the top. And on the bottom, since the bottom of a Polaroid is bigger than the other edges, I'm masking off 2 grid squares and lining up the edges of my post-it note on the graph paper. And then on each side, I'm also masking off 1 grid square on the sides. And what's great about these post-it notes is you can actually see through them, so you can make sure you're getting your line straight. Then I'm going to take a sponge and some gray ink, and I'm just going to start filling in the area that I've masked off. Now, I saw this idea on Pinterest, and I just love the Polaroid black and white look so much. Reminded me of my childhood, that I had to recreate it. And we made this card in my class a few weeks ago and really had fun doing it. What you want to get for the background is just sort of a cloudy look with the gray, not consistent, just darker in some areas and lighter in others. Now you can see that I've already created a mask for my little elephant stamp, and I always just keep my masks on the stamp themselves before I put them back in the box. Makes it easy. And then I just ink up the elephant stamp in same color, gray, and stamp it in the lower left-hand corner of the Polaroid. Then when you place your mask, place it a little bit inside the image to avoid getting a halo. Although on this gray background, it's not as important because it's sort of filled in. Then I'm going to take the balloon stamp. Make sure that it's totally inked up since you're stamping on kind of an uneven surface. And then stamp it on top of the elephant. I love the kind of vintage feel that it has with the circus images. I'm going to splatter with this tool. And once you get the brush tip of the marker on the spritzing end of the tool, you just tighten the little screw, press the balloon end, and that will spritz out some ink from the marker onto your project. Then you unscrew it, unless you're going to use it again right away, in which case just leave it there. And recap your marker. And now you can remove the post-it notes and expose the magic Polaroid goodness. And you can reuse these post-it notes a ton, so don't throw them away. I always just keep them in a stamp box. And there, now I have something that looks like an aged photograph of this vintage circus scene. And eventually I'm going to be putting it on this gessoed piece of newsprint. But first I'm going to take the little ticket from this set, which I think is adorable, and stamp it in gray on cardstock, and then punch out my little ticket. And I'm just going to repeat this a couple times so that it looks like I have a line of tickets like you would normally see if you were going to an old-timey circus, or maybe Dave & Buster's if you are a modern human being. Now that I have them all punched out, the biggest challenge is not to lose them on my desk, which is what normally happens. And then I'm going to take my spritzing tool again, put the marker back in it, and I'm going to spritz the matting pieces that I have for my card, and also the card base, just to give a consistency across the whole design, even on the back of the card, because it looks really fun. And just fold your card base in half. I happen to like 4 1/4 inch wide cards. I don't know why I don't like them the other way. I just don't. But be careful when you're folding cards to make sure that if you're going against the grain, that you use the bone folder to smooth out any unevenness. My Polaroid I'm also going to mat since it's sitting on the gessoed piece, and it doesn't really stand out from that without a little color mat. So I'll just mount it on my spritzed piece. Don't judge me if it's not straight. I'm not very good at that. And then I'll take the gessoed piece. And look how different the back and the front are. With the gesso, it's so much more muted. And I'll apply my monomulti glue. And that's also going to help straighten out. You know, the gesso warps your paper just a little bit. And I don't ever worry about it because I almost always glue it down. And that fixes it. If you wanted to, you could iron it and that would straighten it out. But now I'm just going to put the card together. I like to have the Polaroid at a little bit of an angle. So I'll put some more glue on there and then angle it so that there's just a little bit of vanilla showing all around each edge. And that'll give me room to put my little tiny, tiny tickets on the bottom. And I'm going to make those go at the opposite angle across the bottom of the card. They're so cute. I know you can't see the detail from here, but the stamp image is just perfect for these little tickets. Oops, except they're upside down. Put them on the right side up. And you just put them end to end, and it looks like they just came off a roll of tickets. Now it looks like I might have punched one too many because I think I really only have room for 3 here. And that's fine. So I'll have a ticket for another day. And then I'm going to, since, you know, the elephant is wearing a party hat and I want to give him a little pizzazz. So I'm going to take the ink pad and just 1 drop of the re-inker. And I'm going to use my blender pen and just accent. He has these little ruffly flowers and ribbon on his hat. So I'm just going to spotlight that with Poppy Parade ink, just for a tiny pop of color on my black and white Polaroid. It's a really fun, almost monochromatic image. Then to finish it off, I'll take a little happy birthday greeting. And again, I'm just going to use the same color, basic gray. And this is actually a retired greeting, but I love it so much. You'll have to forgive me. And I'm going to stamp it partially onto the Polaroid and partway into the image. And it just says, "Happy birthday, you old elephant." Thanks for watching.